Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk podcast, here every Tuesday and Friday, but this week every Monday, Tuesday, Friday and Sunday, because it's Survivor Series War Games weekend, and we will be back on Sunday with our review of that show, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts from. It could be on YouTube, it could be on Spotify, it could be on Apple Podcasts, or as Joseph's Shovel Brother Brad 49956 writes, I was scrolling through the comments recently and was reading all the hate comments about the intro joke. When I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, the blur of the hate comments brought me to this exact video.
Yep, it's amazing what we have managed to accomplish with such feats. And it also shows how many comments there are that hate this gimmick, because you were able to scroll past so many of them to create a blur effect.
Well, here is the reveal. I've been paying a bot farm to troll us.
No
There
way.
is actually no hate for the intro bit. It's all bots because it's, again, part of the marketing.
Do you know how I know that the QR code hate is bot farms and how it is all manufactured hate for it? Is when I did an episode of the WrestleTalk News the other day that had a Surfshark ad in it that featured a QR code on screen for Raid Shadow Legends. Scan the QR code to be taken to Raid Shadow Legends. Lot of comments of like, I scanned it. It took me to the WrestleTalk podcast.
Exactly, yeah. And we paid as a lovely Eastern European company not much money to do loads and loads of posts for us. So yeah, thank you very much. Please do subscribe. Survivor Series is this weekend. But now, on this episode, we're going to be reviewing AEW Dynamite, the first post-Full Gear episode, and the start of the Continental Classic. Oh, it's full of substance.
I love it. It's one of my favorite times of the wrestling calendar. But we're going to be kicking things off, sticking with AEW, actually. Talking about this idea that AEW has a Bobby Lashley problem, or a Hurt Syndicate problem, which stems from a much sort of like, this has been going on for a while now.
Well, it also comes pretty much on the anniversary of Bobby Lashley's in-ring debut.
Yeah.
So we're sort of 13 months into Bobby Lashley now.
And I would say it is stemmed mostly from Alvarez and Meltzer. Like, a lot of this chat has really stemmed from them being like, they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose to people. They don't want to put anyone over. And they only want to work with certain people, and they don't want to lose to people. And it's the idea that they were given like the Road Warriors dominant victory gimmick. They won squash matches. They had a long title reign. They were put in a three-way to lose those tag titles, though they didn't get pinned. And now neither of them are in the C2, because the gimmick of the C2 is you might have to take a loss within there, because you can't just win all of the matches. You need to have a balance within there.
Yeah, I've got the exact quote from Wrestling Observer Radio. You can tell the guys who don't want to lose, or that Tony Khan, whatever. You can see it. They all deny it, but you can watch the booking. So we thought, let's go back. Let's look at the booking of the Hurt Syndicate in AEW.
Just while we're on that subject, I do want to say, this is not a report from Meltzer. Meltzer's not saying this is the real reason they're not in the C2. This is just pure Meltzer speculation.
Yeah, but they've been saying for a while that they won't lose.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose.
But it's only them that are saying this. Fightful Select had that report, which, a lot of people then debunked. Well, I say a lot of people. The people involved were trying to debunk as much as possible. I have said on this podcast, I think there is no smoke without fire. I think the three-way where they lose the tag titles did them no favors in the you don't want to lose to certain people category, which we'll come on to in a little bit. I think here, though, with the C2, it is a slightly different kettle of fish. If you have got an act that you are protecting, you don't put them in the C2 for this very reason.
Well, then, whatever the reason is, right now it's not working for me anymore.
Well,
so whether it is Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin being like, nope, we don't take pins, brother, or just bad booking, and actually they're like, dude, Tony, let us put someone over. Please, we just want Mike Bailey to beat one of us clean. And Tony's like, no, I need to book you strong. Whatever one of those, it's it's run out. My patience has worn thin, and I do think they should start putting people over and not creating new titles to give them their own playground to operate in.
Yeah, do you know why it doesn't work for me either? Because this has happened long before they came into AEW as well. This is the exact same problem with Bobby Lashley was when he was in WWE, and they made sure to protect him and book him to look strong. And he had the US title, and he was put into a 3-way because they were going to take the title off of him, but didn't want him to get pinned. So Matt Riddle's just put into that match so we can pin, I think it was Matt Riddle, one of the others. Anyway, putting him in the situations where you don't want to have him be pinned. I think it's just that Bobby Lashley has just a problem overall where bookers just want to have him protected. And I'm not into it. I absolutely am not into the Hurt Syndicate a lot of the time in AEW. There are times when I find them quite entertaining. But of the majority of this overprotection of them, whether it comes from them or it comes from Tony, I'm not into it at all.
I don't know if WWE had the same thing with Bobby, because sure, there were periods in the Almighty era and Vince was just like, look at his butt. But then at the same time, you had some horrible booking of Bobby Lashley beforehand, where it is actually literally, look at this guy's butt. Leo Rush is his manager. Bobby Lashley's sisters. All that stuff. So I feel like Vince had a rock solid one for this guy. Triple H seemed to not be into him at all.
Not into him at all.
And MVP brings it up whenever he can in interviews. He does not like Triple H, which is interesting because usually this is separate from the AEW problem that they've had in the past with ex-WWE guys, namely Rusev, Aleister Black and Andrade. Well, they come into AEW and there's a bit of a honeymoon period, but ultimately they don't want to lose because they're now looking back over at WWE. I don't want to lose. I want to protect myself for when I go back over there. Yeah,
there was the reports at the time, and I heard this from people as well. It wasn't just Meltzer saying this on Wrestling Observer Radio. I was hearing this from people as well. It's like, well, Aleister Black doesn't want to lose to people. He sees this as a stopgap. He's been released by WWE, but really, he is just using this to collect a paycheck to go back. Same with Miro as well. Granted, and just for the sake of clarity, both of them have denied that in interviews and stuff. They have gone on the record saying that is not what happened. But you can also just look at the track record of things being like, it is weird that Aleister Black had 2 singles matches in AEW, whatever it was. That's, I would put it down to, I never would say it's an official report from me. It's just rumor and scuttlebutt as well, whatever I heard. So I think that it's a slight difference between these two things, the Bobby Lashley thing. This one is
it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, this one is very much just, I want to protect this character.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put them into a tournament where you have to have losses.
Yeah.
Because that undermines the character of the almighty Bobby Lashley that I'm putting out on TV.
Oh, but it's not just a tournament. This is a whole year of booking and title losses and everything. No, I wouldn't get too hung up on the C2. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
I'm only saying that because specifically why we started talking about this is because the question was, why is he not in the C2?
Well, it's also the Casino Gauntlet that was at Full Gear.
And we said I think the national title is created just to give Bobby Lashley a playground. I also think this person sent in this question knowing exactly what the answer was so that they could generate this.
Yeah, I think the person who submitted the question to Wrestling Observer Radio was a bike melee, a beadsall bike mate. God, that's more difficult than I thought it would be.
You really got yourself into a tiz with that one.
So here is Bobby Lashley's last 18 months. All-time banging WrestleMania 40 match. We all remember it. It's the 6-man with the Pride and the Street Profits.
Was it the Pride? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I was trying to think if they were in the Testament match.
I don't know if they
Who
ever...
was the Testament match against?
Was it? I think it was the final Testament, wasn't it? Against the Pride?
Oh, that's what they were, the Pride. Yeah. Sorry,
I don't know if they were ever officially called the Pride.
Yeah.
But Lashley and the Street Profits, an act that never worked. And a couple of months later in May, he leaves WWE. In September 2024, MVP debuts in AEW at Grand Slam. So big episode, traditionally annually of AEW. And he is sort of the Silver Surfer of... Yep, you guys know what's coming. Yeah. We thought the Hurt Business, that faction you all loved in WWE, got shortchanged. And there were reports of ages, well, Shelton's a free agent. He was released in 2023. Bobby's just left. we all knew what was coming. So in October, just the week after, Shelton Benjamin debuts. And then on the 30th of October, the sort of Halloween Fright Night episode of Dynamite that year, Bobby Lashley goes right into the top of the card and beats Swerve Strickland. Sorry, attacks Swerve Strickland. That's his debuting angle. And
then his first, he has a 2-on-1 handicap match, right? And then he, at Full Gear, beats Swerve.
Yeah.
And everyone at that time, myself included, was like, and then you'll do the rematch there, because it's kind of weird to beat Swerve in your first match. I mean, it's not weird in the sense of because he's a debuting guy coming in, so you want to give him a big win. But it is weird in the sense of, well, Swerve is very much one of your top guys. He is one of your main eventers in the world title scene. I don't think you should just be beating him willy-nilly, but it's okay, because there'll be a return match where Swerve gets the win back, which we're going to come, that'll be the next match, right?
Ooh, let me have a look. So that must be early 2025. No, that's the tags. No, that's the cheers. Nope, that never resulted in anything. I remember where Swerve was in November. Just in August, he was putting over Bryan Danielson, rather, in the main event of All In.
Yeah. This is where I think, I'm not looking. I think the C2 thing is a misnomer in this Bobby Lashley discussion. I think it's got kind of I know it's why we started this, but him being in the C2 makes complete sense to me.
I disagree. Him being in the C2 makes perfect sense.
No, it doesn't, because he's a protected character.
But
Don't put protected characters
so's
in
Moxley, but you have a story. Look, let's go through chronologically, and we'll get to our thoughts on C2, which we clearly feel differently about.
And I will invoke the name Stone Cold Steve Austin when we get there as well.
Okay. So the Swerve match happens, he beats him, and there is no follow-up to it. There is no Swerve win to create the rubber match. And then he doesn't really do much until the new year, where Shelton and Bobby beat Private Party for the tag belts.
That makes sense to me. That's I think that they did absolutely nothing with Private Party as the tag team champions. So putting the belts on the Hurt Syndicate, I think, could make complete sense.
This was in a time where AEW's tag division was sort of, I don't know, it was just unfocused.
Yeah. There's a reason why Private Party kind of had nothing to do, is because they didn't really have any top contenders coming out of it.
So you've got the belt on the Hurt Syndicate now, and they have matches against the Guns, the Outrunners, the Learning Tree, Sons of Texas, Gates of Agony, Top Flight. Gates of Agony have gone up the card slightly. But these are undercard attack teams mostly.
At this point, GOA were an undercard tag team. It's not until they get into a group with Ricochet that they do level up the card. Here they were, probably below the Learning Tree in terms of TV time you were getting.
And then All In, they faced Jet Speed.
Yes,
and it was the Patriarchy were randomly added as well.
And we thought then, this is where they're going to take the titles off the Hurt Syndicate, because it's a 3-way tag match and you can have them lose the titles without being pinned. And I also, at that time, went on the defense for the Hurt Syndicate, because people were saying they're just burying Jet Speed. And I was like, it's going to make sense when you get to the match, because then Jet Speed get the one over and they beat the Hurt Syndicate or they win the tag titles. Egg on my face, that is not what happened at all.
Yeah, because there was this angle leading into this show to build the match before the Patriarchy were added, I think, where Jet Speed get beaten up by the Hurt Syndicate in the ring, and Lashley and Sheldon leave, and then Mike Bailey gets to his feet and he's like, come on, we're still, and they beat them up again. And then they do that again. And I think they go 4 times over.
And I was like, and it's going to build to them getting the one over them. Because at that point, it was just a straight tag match. And I was like, it's a fine enough story to build an underdog babyface team who then get the win over the dominant tag team. And then it just got super messy because they added the Patriarchy in really late minutes in this.
Yeah.
And that was only done because you were doing the Adam Copeland return and the go find yourself angle, which then sort of overshadowed everything they were doing with the Hurt Syndicate and Jet Speed.
Well, there wasn't much to overshadow, because in that match,
there's a story to tell.
The Hurt Syndicate just were on the outside. They didn't tag in most of the time, and when they tagged in, they laid waste to everyone.
I hated that match.
It was one of the worst things on what was otherwise a really good show.
It went so long, and I remember being so annoyed at that match because there's nothing. The match really ended up being a backdrop for the Copeland return and the go find yourself angle and the split the patriarchy. So don't have this match go 20 minutes then.
Yeah.
This match could have just gone 7 minutes and it would have accomplished the exact same thing.
So this bit for me, so this is July, this is when the shine goes off the Hurt Syndicate for me. Because I think everyone was like, oh yeah, it's Wrestling Booking 101. You are establishing this Road Warriors style act who are just laying waste to everyone because they will go on a dominant run of 6 to 9 months and then a team beats them.
Yeah.
I never thought it would be Jet Speed. I would have loved for it to have been, but then, I thought it might be FTR or Brodido or Gates of Agony.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, okay. That doesn't seem to be what's happening because this is now not like great on-screen character portrayals of a Road Warrior type character. It feels more like bad backstage stuff, like the Road Warriors when they just wouldn't sell for people.
This is when the reports started coming out that they don't want to work with certain people. They don't want to put people over. And MVP in particular does not like Speedball Mike Bailey. And then
this is from Fightful and Wrestling Observer.
And then Speedball posted that video with MVP where they were there to squash those rumors and this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. So, it's one of those things you can sort of trust what the wrestlers are saying or what the reporters are saying. And some people will just pick the camp whichever one they want to sit into.
So then, in August, we get Forbidden Door, which we were at live in London, and it was announced as a 3-way elimination match. FTR versus the Hurt Syndicate, the champions, versus Brodido.
Yeah.
Because FTR and Brodido had done that whole tournament and they drew, so it was becoming... And we thought, I think on the show, we were like, oh my God, they're gonna
have to beat them.
Well, initially, I think we didn't hear the elimination bit. It was all quite confusing the way this was announced. So we're like, of course it's a 3-way.
That's
so
right.
They can drop the belts without getting pinned.
So if I remember correctly, on Dynamite, it was not announced an elimination match. Then you and I did our predictions being like, it's just a way for them to take the titles off without being pinned. Then I think they announced on social media.
Yes, yeah.
And everyone took us to task in the comments being like, you morons, they're going to have to. And then you get to the show and it's not an elimination match. And we said the reaction to that match was really weird because you could tell that the crowd were not sure what the actual rules of the match were.
Yeah, because it's a hardcore crowd. It's London for an AEW show. They probably are following the social media announcements for once. But yeah, in that match, they didn't even do the job.
No.
Instead, Gates of Agony came in under hoods and they beat up the Hurt Syndicate. They brawled to the back and the ending of the match is FTR Brodido and Brodido win. And it was actually, Brodido winning was one of the more unexpected great things to have happened this year for AEW, I think.
Wish I could have seen it.
But so the whole point of the Hurt Syndicate being booked so strong is to put over who the new champions will eventually be when they beat them.
Yeah, this is where the bloom came off the rose for me. Mm-hmm. Because with All In, I didn't blame the Hurt Syndicate in there. I more blamed Copeland. And sort of like Tony Khan putting more of the focus on Copeland and Christian getting together, which I'm very excited for and I was into. But like doing that angle to overshadow the story you were doing with the Hurt Syndicate and Jet Speed, that fell at the expense of doing the Copeland return instead, right? But with this, where they were in a match and they didn't take the pin. And I remember doing the review for that show and I was like, you are doing yourselves no favors. Or like AEW are doing themselves no favors to battle these reports they don't want to put people over when you put them in a 3-way match where 2 other teams actually are the ones involved in the finish to lose to win the tag titles. This is where the bloom completely came off the rose for me.
And then for the last 3 months, it's effectively been feuding with Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, who became the Demand. So Bobby beats Toa Leona. The Demand won it all out, but all the Demand's wins mostly come via MVP or something like that.
It's pinning MVP.
Hurt Syndicate win on Dynamite. GOA beat the Hurt Syndicate later on. Then the Hurt Syndicate beat the Demand on the 3-way at Wrestle Dream. Then the Ops beat the Hurt Syndicate on a match.
Because of the Demand.
That's, MVP, I think, takes the pin still. And then Lashley is in the number 1 contenders match, even though we all know it's going to be Samoa Joe. It's Joe, Lashley, Hook, and
Ricochet
in the 4-way number one contenders match for Full Gear.
I didn't think it was going to be Joe. I didn't think that was a for certain.
He'd already done the angle. He'd already turned heel at WrestleDream.
Yeah, they'd done the match, but that doesn't mean he was automatically going to win the number one contendership thing again. I think like it's not like I can't actually remember what we might have said. We might have said it was a foregone conclusion at the time. There's every chance it could have been Bobby. I think I was angling for them to do Hangman versus Bobby for the title.
Well, that would have made more sense. No, it wouldn't have made more sense because at WrestleDream, Hangman wins, but then Joe turns heel on him afterwards.
Yeah.
Then there's an angle on Dynamite, I'm pretty sure, where Joe calls out Hangman, and then it's this number one contenders match.
Maybe I've misremembered.
So yeah, and then they announce, we're gonna have a new title, which I don't think anyone on the planet, particularly Mike Mondo, was excited about.
And if anything, this title has really muddied the waters for the Continental Classic as well, which we'll get to when we get to the Dynamite review, because I don't think I now fully understand what the title belts in AEW are.
It gets a trophy.
Nope.
Trophy.
No, the Continental Classic title is on the line in the C2.
I thought this was for the Owen Hart Cup. The Owen Hart Cup belt.
The Owen Hart Cup belt.
Don't you win Martha Hart at the end of the C2? She becomes your valet.
You get a seat on the foundation board.
So yeah, they announced the national championship, and everyone said, okay, because Bobby, this is like Bobby's belt.
You're not going to put him in the title picture.
They didn't want to beat Okada, so Okada gets a belt. They didn't want to beat Kenny, so Kenny gets a belt. And it's just...
What was the Kenny belt?
Well, he won what did the Continental belt?
The international title.
Yeah, merge.
Well, I don't think that's a Kenny belt. Yeah. Like, Kenny won that so you can merge it with the titles. It was more a case of we haven't got any plans to put Okada in the main event scene, but we should really have Okada featured in a main event angle, so we've created a belt for him to have that is considered to be in the same vein as the world title. And the national championship was the exact same. It felt like the same thing. We have no plans to put Bobby Lashley in a world title picture with the champion, so we've created a belt that he honestly, by this point, I am sick to the back teeth of watching the Hurt Syndicate feud with the Demands.
The matches are always quite fun, but yeah, it's been 3 months.
Yeah.
We know that the Hurt Syndicate really beat them quite easily most of the time.
It's not even just that it's 3 months. It is 3 months and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches and 2 other matches, actually 9 matches that have involved the Demand costing Hurt Syndicate something.
There's some, it's like a variations on these 3 guys versus these 3 guys. Yeah. Sometimes it's just one of them on each side. Sometimes it's 2.
I cannot believe they're still feuding.
So then you get the Casino Gauntlet match at Full Gear, and that was last Saturday.
Yeah.
And Bobby and Shelton had won the matches on Dynamite to be the first entrance in, which in the Casino Gauntlet stipulation is the best position to be in. And those matches had Bobby Lashley squashing Ricochet on Dynamite.
Effectively, it was a 5-minute match, but it was basically a squash.
As a squash. And the Shelton Mike Bailey match had MVP on commentary burying Mike Bailey.
And the botched finish as well, because Shelton called the audible, but the referee didn't hear the audible.
So I don't know what MVP's thought process is or why someone didn't talk to him to not do this, because Mike Bailey is one of the more exciting new guys in the company. You want to build him up, right? Like Kevin Knight and in the C2. Yeah. And there's this thing lurking in the background, sure, it's just internet rumors and whatever, that MVP doesn't like Mike Bailey, that the Hurt Syndicate wouldn't put over Jet Speed when they were feuding. So here's a match with Shelton and Mike Bailey, and MVP is just on commentary going, yeah, that hold's not tight enough. Because Mike Bailey's gimmick is that he is a black belt in martial arts, and MVP's on the outside, criticizing the MMA, not MMA, but sort of karate, whatever holds that Mike Bailey's doing.
And I think it's because they do different martial arts styles, and MVP thinks that his martial arts style is better than the other one. But like the reason why he was doing that is the same reason why Tommy Dreamer says stupid stuff on podcasts, because it generates a headline.
Yes, which is why I think that's when you have AEW management step in, Tony Khan, Bryan Danielson, whoever, just say, don't do that.
Or maybe they're encouraging him to do so.
Find another way to get heat.
They're doing that with MVP and Mike Bailey together to be like, this will generate some online buzz, so we should do this.
Yeah,
I'm not advocating for that, by the way. I think that's dumb.
That is a possibility. And I can't see a way where someone doesn't say to MVP after this, cool it with that isn't enhancing the product, that's detracting from it.
Because I have known commentators in the past trying to work angles within shows and online as well that they want to do, but haven't actually been like, we're not doing this as an angle on the shows that we're doing. But the commentator has gone like, but I think this would be good, and I think it's good for my character if we do this. And then people have had to step in to be like, can you not do that though? Because it's actively hurting the product we're trying to do. Chris
Charlton famously did this last year on New Japan commentary. He started burying AEW, saying how they're coming in here and, taking all our stars. And New Japan management sort of either, suspended him or whatever, because they're like, they're our valued business partner. We did not sign off on you saying that. However, I'm still waiting for that Booker T. Corey Graves match. Sometimes it works.
Sometimes it does work.
But then the actual match comes along. It's the Casino Gauntlet at Full Gear, and you've got Bobby and Shelton in the ring. You're like, oh, okay. They didn't put over Swerve. They didn't put over Jet Speed. They didn't put over Brodido. But surely they'll put over each other. This is what the whole last year has been building towards, surely. Bobby and Shelton squaring off in the ring. They never touched.
I was listening to a podcast review of this yesterday where they were like, they wrestled for like 10 seconds before it. And I was like, buddy, if they'd have wrestled for 10 seconds, that would have been something.
Yeah.
They didn't even do that. They circled each other, then Ricochet came out.
It's WrestleMania 20 with Goldberg and Brock.
An absolute colossal waste of time.
Ricochet comes out. They beat him up pretty easily for a while. Then I think GOA run in. They're not like the next entrance.
I don't think you need to think about it. It's GOA that ran in to attack them. They weren't the next entrance. They just ran in to attack
like
them.
An interference spot. And they take out Bobby and Shelton with, pretty hard whips into the steel steps. But I've seen worse. They are out for the next 15 minutes. And you get all these people enter in the Casino Gauntlet. And when they come back in, they barely sell for anyone. They throw everyone around. And Ricochet just gets a sneaky win, I think, on Kevin Knight at the end to become the national champion.
Yeah, they sold for Claudio and Mark Davis, the beefier lads.
So that is the story so far of the Hurt Syndicate's first year and a bit in AEW. They've literally not put over anyone.
No. And
there are reports from at least one outlet that they won't put over anyone.
Yes. Reports that they refute again. But you can look at the track record. And that's kind of what Meltzer is saying in his thing. It's not a report, but it's like, just look at the show. And you can see that they do not want to lose to people. Or he says, or Tony doesn't want them to lose to people, which I think it's maybe a little from column A, a little from column B. I don't think it is one or the other. There's probably a little bit of both in there. It's somewhere in the middle.
Well, yeah, because I think if Tony really believed they should lose, he would book them to lose, or he'd take them off TV.
Well, that's exactly the point I was going to make. If they really did not want to lose, he just would not book them in matches.
Because that's what he did with Malachi Black and Andrade and Miro. If they're not going to play ball, Tony seems a bit conflict averse. So rather than make them do something they don't want to do, he'll just stop booking them.
If you don't want to be here, I'm not going to put you on TV.
But, I don't think it's a case that it's what Hurt Syndicate are in a weirdly weak position, though, because Miro and Andrade could go, but I'm going to go back to WWE. I don't care, mate. I don't think MVP, Bobby and Shelton was released. MVP cannot stop talking about how racist Triple H is.
Hey, but then he'll do another interview. It's like, I didn't use the word racist.
Allegedly. And Bobby Lashley, was booked like nothing under Triple H.
No, do you remember he won the Andre the Giant? Like, everyone was like, I wonder what Bobby's going to do at WrestleMania 39. He came out with the trophy and posed for a bit.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
And that was it. It was hilarious.
So it's not like they can go back.
He was supposed to feud with The Fiend, in fairness.
Yeah. So it's not like it's a big threat that they'll go back to WWE and WWE will book them amazingly. No. I don't think that's a consideration.
Absolutely not.
So I do think Tony and AEW are in a good position to say, no, you got to put someone over now.
Which is why I think maybe it's more Tony than it is the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah, like Tony probably deep down knows they should have put over Brodito at least. But
yeah.
But he's like, but I don't want to rock the apple cart. We've had a good year this year. Like, there's not much backstage drama.
But it was also to spin off into the FTR Brodito feud. Like, Brodito pinning FTR starts the story of you ruined our night at Forbidden Door that leads to them having the tag match where FTR beat them for the tag titles.
I think you can book that in a much better way. Where
I'm not saying, you can say that about a lot of things.
Well, you have Brodito pin the Hurt Syndicate, and FTR are like, you didn't pin us.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think you might look back with the benefit of hindsight, I should have had them put them over. I do think, though, that Tony probably sees them as, these are more of my protected stars that do not lose, because when they do lose, I want it to feel like a big deal. And if you're going to do that, then you don't put them in the C2.
But look at Okada. Look at Mercedes Moné. Look at Tony Storm. These are the most protected people in the company, but they lose. They know when to lose. Actually, there's a follow-up bit from Meltzer where he uses Mercedes Moné as an example, who is booked incredibly strongly. She's got 14 different championships right now. She's only lost twice. But when the time is right, I've never heard of any problems with Mercedes losing. But you shouldn't be beating Mercedes often. The problem isn't...
So I think it's the exact same thing, is that they have booked Mercedes to lose when the time is right. Otherwise, you keep her protected. And those wins for Statlander and Storm meant more because she was a protected character.
Exactly. So Okada has like 2 losses, brilliantly so on this episode of Dynamite to Carl Fletcher, just like last year's C2. If anything, weirdly, I feel like the C2 or New Japan's G1, they are these weird pocket universes where, you can lose, but because it's in this, okay, let's break from everything else, the losses do matter, but they don't hurt you as much.
No, I'd agree. And with Okada, he needs to be in the C2. Stars, apparently he's defending his Continental Championship that isn't unified anymore? Question mark. I've got such a big question to ask about that when we get into the Dynamite review. So he has to be in there for the Continental Championship reasons, but also his gimmick is, I'm the greatest tournament wrestler of all time. He's currently tied, needs to be in this one to break that record. So you have to put him in the C2. That makes complete sense.
Great story. So I think obviously the national championship should not be a thing. Like, one of the gimmicks of the national championship supposedly is it's going to be defended around loads of other promotions and countries. I've heard that, I think, about every other single belt they've introduced.
You go back 3 years or whatever it was, that was the same speech he gave about the international title, then the All-Atlantic Championship. And for like the first few weeks of it, you had videos of Pac showing up at shows and defending the title around the country. And then they just stopped doing it. And then it just became another belt in the country. I have got zero faith that this national championship will have the absolute moniker they put around this, that it's going to be defended in multiple championships around the world. I don't buy it.
It will with Ricochet for the next month. He'll do a few shows and we'll get a few clips of it. But as soon as Bobby wins that title, because I believe that is imminent, he's not going to go to indie shows.
No.
If he is, it will be one in 3 months.
Yeah, because he's done one indie show in France, I think, since he's gone to AEW.
So about the C2 and Bobby not being in the C2, look, if we're booking AEW properly, the national championship is not added. It is surplus to requirements, this belt. And Bobby, as you can see, because he was in the mix in that number 1 contenders match for the world title, he is a guy who hasn't lost. He hasn't lost in AEW. He's got a win over Swerve Strickland. He's a former tag team champion. He should be going for top belts. But they're not booking him in them because I guess they don't want him to lose or he doesn't want to lose. I don't really care about the reason at this point. I care about how it's affecting the on-screen product and storylines, because it's weird that he isn't in one of these main positions. So if he's not going for the world title, because that's Hangman and it's Swerve and it's Joe, then you got to put him in the C2.
I disagree. Absolutely disagree. I wouldn't put Mercedes in the C2. If you did a women's version of the C2, I would not put Mercedes in the C2.
She was literally just in the tag team tournament.
Yeah, and did she take the pin?
No.
No, exactly, because she is the protected star in of that tag act. So I would not put her in the C2 where you have to lose a bunch of matches. It works with Okada. That is his current gimmick. I'm a tournament wrestler. And you're right. The losses that he has there is actually to create the sort of shock value of Carl Fletcher gets the win over Okada in the first match. Works brilliantly there. You don't do it with Mercedes, and you don't do it with Bobby Lashley. And if I can, I said it earlier, I will invoke the name Stone Cold Steve Austin, because Stone Cold Steve Austin was booked to lose against Brock Lesnar in a King of the Ring qualifying match, and he said, that doesn't work for me, brother. Why would you not try and protect me more as a character, build up to a match between me and Brock, and then I can lose that match, and then we'll do something else down the line. And then he takes his ball and he goes home, which he doesn't really do. He just walks out, and then they created the line. He took his ball and went home. But that is a harken back to the day of when wrestlers were more protective of their wins and losses. And I think that Austin was right. He was right to say, I should not just be losing to Brock in a King of the Ring qualifying match that you have not advertised ahead of time. And I think it's the same going to be applied to Mercedes and Lashley being in a C2 here.
Well, I think we are probably actually agreeing, because I'm not saying Bobby goes into the C2 undefeated. I think you should have already booked him to do that, like 1 year in to Bobby Lashley's reign and being in AEW. That's when he puts someone over. He should have already put over a Brodito. He should have lost all of a sudden to Mike Bailey and he's furious. Or Toa Leona. Toa Leona was genuinely getting a bit of a rub there, but I feel like he's going to fall back down the card, unfortunately. Yeah. And then when you go into the C2, then he can take one shock loss, just like a car. You know, I forgot that Carl Fletcher beat Okada in last year's C2. I thought he was undefeated until they brought it up at the start of this match.
Yeah, which is really good. I think that's a wonderful little bit of storytelling within there.
That's what I'm saying about these tournaments. They do feel like a little pocket bit. They're very, very consequential, but in a way that doesn't affect the overall strength of a character.
Mm-hmm. But if you... Sorry, I don't want to cut you off there. But if your story with Bobby Lashley is he has never been pinned within AEW, then you don't want his first pinfall loss to just be within the C2.
I just said his first pinfall loss would have been before that.
But what's a pinfall loss? If your whole gimmick is he's not been pinned in AEW, does that mean more after 2 months, or does it mean more after 2 years? And
what about somewhere in between? What about 1 year, I'm saying?
I agree with you, but clearly they're going for the 2-year model.
So what is the payoff to this?
So I'll tell you what the payoff is. It's pinning Crimson for the first time in TNA, where he's on an undefeated streak. Doesn't mean anything. No one cares about Crimson undefeated. They don't look at it the same as Goldberg. But the idea was, well, we've got to try. And we've done this thing, and we're telling you that it means a lot. But I don't think it's actually going to mean much of a damn when it actually does happen. But I think that is what they're doing. They're trying to create this aura of Bobby Lashley, never pinned, never submitted in AEW, and then someone finally gets a pin over him in 2 years' time. I don't think it's going to get that person over. I don't think it's going to get that Lashley under. But that is the model that they're trying to do.
Well, I disagree with it. Let us know what you think. I did that thing again. I disagree.
Well, okay,
I wasn't disagreeing with you. I was disagreeing with that. Tony Khan's potential thought.
For the record as well, I do too.
Yes.
Because that's why I'm saying I don't think it will actually mean anything when someone does eventually beat them. I don't think actually it would have meant anything if Brodito beat them. If Brodito had pinned them at Forbidden Door, I don't think it would have meant anything. I
think the one to have done it with was Jet Speed.
It was.
Because that they were telling that story that you got so behind.
Yeah.
Because that was the story they were telling. But I was just more cynical. I was like, nah, they're gonna win.
You were more cynical, but you were also right.
But yeah, let us know down in the comments what you think about the Bobby Lashley problem. How would you pay it off? Would you ever pay it off? Help. It's Survivor Series War Games. Don't know if we've mentioned that already on Saturday, and we'll be here on Sunday with the WrestleTalk podcast review of it. But you can get your thoughts in. We're not doing super chats and chat gables or whatever they're called because these are pre-recorded for the moment. So if you are a Patreon at patreon.com/WrestleTalk, as soon as Survivor Series is over, a post will go up asking for your thoughts. So get your thoughts in the 6 hours after that goes up, and we will read out the best ones on the podcast.
Yeah, I've got it scheduled to go up when I think Survivor Series will end. So it starts at 1 a.m. our time. So I've set it to go, the post to go live at 3:30, which is 2.5 hours. Actually, no, I might have set it for 4 a.m.
I think 4 is safe.
Gone for a 3-hour runtime. It's the best guess. So if it's not there the second after it's finished, it'll be there within the hour after it's finished.
There's 4 matches. There's 4 matches.
Yeah.
How many adverts can there be? But also, this isn't our only Patreon. We've also got patreon.com/cutscene.
That's right. On Wednesday, we released our most recent episode of Worst Movie Ever, where we went through Black Adam.
Yeah.
With an intro that some are saying is one of your all-time best.
And some are saying I should be cancelled for it. So one comment said it was a hate crime. And yeah, it's weird. It does feel like a hate crime.
Honestly, you said it, and I was like, man, I'm not sure about this.
I wouldn't commit me recording to that on the internet in perpetuity. But yeah, when you think about it, it is definitely not a racist intro.
It's not.
It's not a racist intro.
He's called Black Adam.
He's called Black Adam. It rhymes with an Eminem song.
So we review that over on Cutscene, and over on our Patreon, patreon.com/cutscene, we do a full scene-by-scene breakdown of the movie. The podcast runs about 4.5 hours in total, and we had a really fun time going through. The Rock basically saying, like, can you say a line that will make me sound cool? Yeah, The Rock's approach to producing this movie was, but how can it make me look strong? Yeah. Because I'm trying to build myself up for a match against Superman that no one has asked for. Well, no, The Rock kept telling me the fans want it. The fans have been dying to see this showdown. The fans have been dying for Cavill to come back as Superman. We go into all of that. How The Rock tried to take over the DCU and failed. And essentially, what led to him going back to WWE. Right, so what's going on with these title belts? So there's a Continental Classic. And as we all know, every year, the Continental Classic title is on the line in the tournament. But we got rid of that belt. We unified it with another title to create the Unified Championship. And Don Callis said on Full Gear, Okada will be defending his Continental Championship in the C2. And I thought he misspoke. Because I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense because that belt's unified now. But then Okada comes down to the ring and he's only wearing his International Championship because they said he's had to relinquish the Continental Championship because it's up within this tournament. So he still has one of the championships. Yeah, he's got the International Championship still. That's not on the line in this tournament. So is the Continental Championship currently vacant, or is it some kind of Schrodinger's Championship that depends on when you look at it? Well, whoever wins this tournament will win the Continental Championship, which then means they are the ununified championships then, and we just go back to having multiple singles titles. I mean, what it tells me is Okada's winning this tournament and he's just going to have the Unified Championship again. Okay, the unification of the AEW Continental. So he's currently let's have a look. Yep, the current champion of the International Championship is Okada. Yeah, he won it all in. Oh, this is confusing. And he came out with the International Championship on this show in the opening match, and they said that's because he's had to not give up, but he's had to hand over the Continental Championship because that is on the line within this tournament. Do you remember the International Championship's first gimmick in 2022 when it was the inaugural champion was crowned? The All Atlantic Championship. Was it called the All Atlantic Championship? The International Championship, I believe, was originally the All Atlantic Championship that Pac won at the first Forbidden Door. It was, you're right. For a year, it was the All Atlantic Championship. Then it became the International Championship, which says 2023 until present. Yeah, because it's still in operation. But it's now the Unified Championship. In the same way, the lineage of the Universal Championship still exists, but it is now part of the undisputed WWE Championship with the WWE Championship. But if Cody only defends one belt. Yes, because when you unify a belt, you only have one belt now. So that is what WWE have done. They had 2 world titles, and they merged them into one world title, and then a year later introduced another world title. I'm trying to think how it works in boxing, because when Tyson Fury and Usyk had their fight, that was with all the boxing promotions belts on the line. It was like Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. Yeah, it was. Yeah, shopping trolley full of belts they came out with. But they didn't. It was billed as all the titles will be unified, or maybe it was more there will be an undisputed champion. Mm-hmm. But as soon as Usyk won it, he had to vacate one of the belts because there's a rule between all the federations that you can't hold all the belts. What a cool way to promote a show. Boxing's a mess. Yeah. So they had it sorted out. You unified these titles and literally introduced a brand new belt called the Unified Championship that was both of those belts combined. Then the second, my first thought was, well, this clears up the C2 a lot as well.
Yeah.
Because one of the dumb things about the C2 is that it's for a fucking belt that then is defended across the year, but then is up for in a tournament. Why isn't this just for a trophy? Why don't you just, like the G1, get a world title shot at the end of all of this?
It should be the main event of Revolution is decided by the winner of the C2.
It is daft that this is for a belt. And let's not forget, the only reason this had a belt on is so Eddie Kingston be a Triple Crown champion at the end of it. It's the only reason this stinking belt exists in the first place. And so I was like, okay, now you've unified the title. That cleans up the C2. And then they've just gone and just like just messed up the room again after you spent hours tidying it up, and because your mum was having a go at you for your room being untidy, you went in there and started throwing your clothes all over the place, and now it's a mess again.
Maybe Tony Khan being the best boss isn't a good thing. He's like, yeah, you won't lose, Bobby. Yeah, you can have a title, Eddie, and all these nice decisions have consequences.
They have consequences. And it makes this... So, look, up front, loved this episode of Dynamite because it's based around the C2, and I love the C2. But at the end of the C2, there's just these stupid questions like, what is this belt? Why is this now... And then at the start of this, I'm like, well, why are there now 4 mid-card titles? There are 4 mid-card championships in AEW at the moment.
Yeah. So TNT... All Atlantic,
no,
International. There's the Continental title, which is up for grabs, and the new National Championship that Ricochet has.
We have 4 mid-card titles in this company.
Mm-hmm. And I think at least 2 of them should supposedly be defended around the world. Wasn't it? the original Eddie Kingston one as well, that was a unification... was it like it was the Triple Crown Championship?
Well, they called him the Triple Crown Champion because he was the Ring of Honor champion,
and the New Japan Strong champion,
champion, probably, yeah. Which he then loses to Gabe Kidman. Gabe Kidman got injured.
Well, should we put this to one side because it is annoying?
If I can.
Well, we've got to talk about the rest of the episode.
It was Kazuchika Okada versus Kyle Fletcher in a Gold League match, and they had an awesome match.
This is the first Okada match I've watched since watching Radiohead on Monday. Oh, did I mention that? I went to see Radiohead. They were great. But you've always said to me, Paranoid Android, which is a very long song by Radiohead that has various movements, but it all builds to this sick kick-off guitar solo. Yeah. And you always like... The thing is, you just want the end bit because the preceding 4 minutes are kind of dreary.
Yeah.
And,
come on, rain down. It's that movement in particular, I think is, yes, that's the Okada movement.
But what you need in an Okada match, like the 15 minutes at the start, aren't just filler. They're building the pace. So when it suddenly kicks into gear, in like the great bit when Okada and Fletcher were just out of nowhere, boom, reversal, we're at Tombstone, powerbomb, blah, blah, blah. It feels more impactful.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I was watching this and 15 minutes of really good, solid wrestling, but nothing mind-blowing, I was like, this is the start of Paranoid Android. So yeah, I agree with you.
And I say, it's not the full, because the start of Paranoid Android is very lovely. It is that final movement before the outro when it's the come on rain down portion of it. That's what I was, yeah. I thank you for that. But I loved this match. And I loved that Kyle Fletcher got the win because this is the first match of this year's C2, and you've opened with one of your very protected wrestlers in Okada taking a loss here in a real surprise upset. It shouldn't be that much of a surprise. Fletcher beat him in last year's C2 as well, but you've opened this up with a shock win. And then you had another shock win later on in this show that was based more around storyline and selling from a previous match. I thought this was a great way to kick this off.
Yeah, not just the sort of tournament favourite, the defending champion with whatever belt rules exist there. It's interesting because it is a heel versus heel match. This is a Don Callis family presentation with Don on commentary, who was great. He was like, look, these 2 guys in the ring, we've got the best odds out of anyone to win the title. I've never really seen another wrestling faction booked like Dons.
Yeah. What I love about it as well is that he almost treats it like it's not a separate promotion per se. But when this opening is like 2 of the greatest wrestlers on the planet brought to you by the Don Callis family.
He's more like a boxing promoter, where these are guys who fight out of my company, like I promote their fights.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll fight each other. It doesn't matter because I get the house.
Yeah.
He doesn't care who wins.
No.
He just wants a Don Callis family member to win.
And Okada at the end here. So Kyle Fletcher gets the win with the roll-up. He reverses the Rainmaker to get it. Brilliant final, 5 minutes of this match I thought was so, so great. And at the end of it, Okada shakes the hand of Kyle Fletcher. And my first thought was, if that had been Takeshita that had pinned you here in the C2, would not have been the same reaction from Okada.
Well, it's also that it was such a great spot in the end, in the post-match, because Okada, unsurprisingly, although it has surprised me and everyone else, is a fantastic, physically comedic performer. And he's a great in-ring wrestler with pacing and timing. Oh yeah, all those things can translate to physical comedy. And just the way he went in for that handshake, but there is a brief moment where it looks like he's going for the middle finger, but never enough to make Kyle annoyed, but we all got it. Okada, after what was... It'd be interesting to go back and watch the first 3 months of Okada when we were all like, what is this? Because maybe it was our fault. Maybe Okada was this fully realized new character, but we were all still playing catch up.
Yeah, and I think you and I were very much on the it's 3-star Okada train, because I saw the tail end of his run in New Japan Pro Wrestling as well, where it was like, he's phoning this in now. And then he got to AEW and was like, oh no, is he just going to phone it in here as well until you do a big show with Kenny Omega? I think maybe I was just wrong all the time. And he actually has just been great from day one.
Yeah.
I love the heel turn.
Also in the match, because it was heel versus heel, obviously. So they worked it very smartly, where Fletcher was sort of the underdog in this, getting Okada was working him over. And Okada hits... Did he push the referee into the ropes at one point? Fletcher's on the top rope and it dicks him on the turnbuckle. And Okada's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. But he also smiles right after he did it. Just great, a great heel character.
It's like when he hit that Rainmaker on Takeshita back. I was like, oh no. It's got that smirk on his face.
What I love about this, not just the booking of, the tournament favourite and champion just took a loss and Carl Fletcher, there's the long-term story that Fletcher beat him last year. It's just the C2. And it feels like it's so momentous. And I devoured, like my eyes were just hungry for the other matches on this. I very rarely watch a full Collision. I'm going to watch all the Blue League matches on the Thanksgiving Collision, which has gone out already as we're recording this.
Probably was taped at the same show, right?
Yeah, probably. And I think it goes out on Thanksgiving evening to not go against Survivor Series. It's going to get killed regardless.
You're a turkey no matter which day you're going out, bud.
But love the C2.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It might just be because we've just watched Fantastic Four, Fanforstic, for our next episode of Worst Movie Ever, but I was smelling a reshoot here because Lexi was interviewing Kenny Omega and I was like, this was done at Full Gear. This isn't live at Dynamite. Kenny Omega comes
Let's go see the big guy.
Kenny Omega walks out of his dressing room because they're like, we're going to throw to Lexi Nair now, who's trying to get a word with Kenny Omega. And he comes out very clearly having just wrestled a match. He's got like welts on his chest and stuff. I'm like, this was at Full Gear, you lying bastards. But he was, I've not been a model friend to the Bucks, but I've also been fooled by Don Callis in the past, so I wanted to reach out an olive branch to them. Can't reveal if the Elite is back together or not. And then he goes back into his locker room, and Lexi Nair stands there, smiling politely, and then the Bucks leave the locker room as well.
Mm-hmm. So they're probably together.
Yeah. How are you feeling about the Elite?
They're back.
Got the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So it's because I was listening to a podcast that was reviewing Full Gear, and he was like, I don't know if I'm vibing with the Elite. I don't know if I wasn't there from the beginning, but was anyone watching this and they fist pumped the air when the Elite got back together again? For like the 25th time, whatever it feels like. Yeah. Mark Briscoe cut a promo from Full Gear. They were open about that one. And he talked about family, the conglomeration stuff. Great promo from Mark.
Very nice. Very different from a usual Mark conglomeration, jokey promo, word of the day stuff. This is talking like a normal human being and just saying he did it for his family. And he points points up there for Jay. So lovely.
The Babes of Wrath then beat the Sisters of Sin in the Women's Tag Title Tournament to advance to the finals. Decent enough match. Willow got the win with the Doctor Bomb.
Yep. Julia Hart hit a moonsault at one point. Went so far around, she just landed on her feet.
Yeah.
And then was like, I was meant to hit that. And did a splash.
Yeah.
Which could just be an awesome move.
No, it wouldn't. No, it would not. I've got those Mascara Dorada doing that roll in the match with Jon Moxley where he rolled, then stopped, then did another move.
It's good. It's the Andrade moonsault, other moonsault.
Yeah, but that least is in one fluid motion. You're pitching to do a moonsault and stop all momentum to do a smaller
and then
move.
Face plant, yeah.
We had Tony Schiavone in the ring to interview Samoa Joe, and I was like, oh, Tony, I would not want to be in your shoes to do this one, mate. Particularly you being Tony Schiavone. And Joe, of course, sends Schiavone out of the ring. And then they cut to the screen and a car arrives and Swerve gets out of that car and he starts walking towards the ring and Hangman Page walks alongside him. And
it was cool.
It was cool. And the dojo guys then come out to surround the ring and we get a video of Samoa Joe then throws to a video of Hook's return to the Ops.
Here's how I did it.
Yeah.
Sort of explaining Hook's return and teaming with Kingston.
Yeah.
It was all part of the plan.
And then Hook cuts a quick promo when he comes out. But then Swerve and Hangman come down. They beat up the dojo lads and they hang a pair of them while staring at Samoa Joe, likely leading to that triple threat that we talked about on the last show.
Yeah, when Hangman came through the crowd, he was by the bar and he just necked a drink.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So cool.
Both dressed in black. So it's kind of like, yeah, we're sickos. We're going to come for you, Joe. I'm into this. This feels like... This was such a great three-way feud in, was it the start of 2024? I think so, yeah.
Right?
And Hook was a part of that as well. So I just hope Hook comes out of this looking good.
Yes. I hope he does too. There was someone said recently actually that Joe, the idea of Joe winning the belt, and some people were like, why are you giving the title to Samoa Joe? Are you taking it off of Hangman Page? And someone pointed out, I was like, I mean, Joe's probably going to be retiring I think he has said like he might be in one of his last contract years. So like, it's kind of nice for him to be able to have one last world title run within that.
Yeah, it's nice. Again, at the expense of Hangman's 4-month title reign, don't know.
Maybe, but I would say Hangman came out here. He did not feel under. No. He felt, if anything, probably more over because this crowd, Swerve's just made his big return, but this crowd wanted to see Hangman Page and chant Cowboy S.
It was a bold, creative decision, and I think even on our Full Gear review, we said we can see both sides. But the follow-up will be key.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Hopefully they've got... And maybe Hangman is better as a chaser.
We had a Moxley promo from Full Gear. It's that one that we talked about in the Full Gear review show as well, where he's there being like, yeah, but who's the real winner? Because I'm still standing and Kyle O'Reilly's gone to the hospital, while the other members of the Death Riders are staring daggers into him. And Claudio, I think Claudio's performance in all of this is so good. Have you seen the clip from Full Gear when Moxley afterwards, and he's walking out, and Yuta and Garcia look to Claudio, and Claudio gives them the nod for them to leave. They didn't wait for permission from Moxley. They looked at Claudio as the potential new leader.
As a new alpha.
Oh, I loved him. And that takes us into Jon Moxley versus Mascara Dorada in the Blue League. Great match these two had. The Dorada roll notwithstanding, which, just stopped all momentum that he had. But Moxley did like a Shield-style dive, and it was like, oh yeah, look, there he is, he's in there. And he got the win with the Bulldog choke after reversing a shooting star press and immediately got some. And like, it starts posing with the biceps and everything. And it was like that one win. All of the confidence rushed right back to him. It's like, I'm back, I'm Jon Moxley, and I'm back again.
Oh, it still feels performative, though,
doesn't
it? He's the best character in AEW. Probably all of the main promotion wrestling now. I can't believe it. He is so compelling to watch. And when anyone gets a submission on him, like Dorada got an armbar in this match, the crowd go crazy.
Yeah.
It is a genius move that he's managed to make the crowd. Well, it's like long-term psychology. It's really masterful what he's done.
And to show how easily rattled he can get, Tony Storm comes out effectively to cut promo on Marina Shafir and announce what their stipulation is for next week. But Moxie was like afraid and didn't want to listen to what she had to say in case because she was saying mean things about him because it was affecting him mentally. But she announced that next week she's not got a Christmas present for Hermina just yet, so she's going to give her lover something that she's always wanted: a death match.
Hardcore holiday death match. Yeah. I want Christmas trees. I want a spot where people stamp on the bulbils.
Yeah.
I want a little train set that is set up and it like, I don't know, drives a spike into someone.
I think that Marina Shafir will be stomped into baubles because she's got bare feet. It's like Home Alone style.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And I can see them doing the Taipei death match, the hands in the glass and you pull out broken baubles.
Oh, yeah, you just do Home Alone. That's a great idea.
Paint cans.
This is great.
Renee interviewed Chris Statlander. She is the only woman in AEW to have been both TBS and Women's World Champion. Also is the only woman in AEW to have pinned both Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné.
It's impressive, isn't it? And she said that I'm not just going to challenge the AEW roster, but all women in the industry who's coming with me into the future.
Yeah. Which
made it sound like someone who's not signed with AEW will be her next feud.
Lacey Lane, she's just signed with the company. We had another Gold League match as Darby Allin took on Kevin Knight. I was fully expecting Darby to get the win here, but Kevin Knight got the win with a coast-to-coast and a UFO splash. Darby selling the effects of Sting's baseball bats attack that he got from Pac from Full Gear.
And the rest. And the last 3 months. I think, I run hot and cold on Darby. He's not really a character I vibe with. I thought he was really good at selling here from the outset, and he doesn't lose anything through losing this match.
No.
Again, the C2, it's in its own little pocket universe. The normal rules don't apply. Accumulated damage and all that stuff. So yeah, when he lost, I was more like, wow, great win for Kevin Knight. Shame for Darby that he came into this tournament already beaten to shreds.
Yeah. FTR cut a promo about winning the tag team titles. They'll be getting a full-on promo on the Collision show. And then Eddie cut a promo about Hook, which he doesn't really want to talk about. And then I love that Eddie Kingston. He's like, look, I'm not in line for the world title. I'm not in there with Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. But if I beat Shibata, then maybe I could be within the conversation. So Shibata, I'll see you at Collision.
I hope that's a good match. It's already happened probably as you're watching this. But Eddie Kingston has been quite... he doesn't feel 100% since he's returned.
He's been off a step.
We love him. He's one of my favourite wrestlers of all time. So him versus Shibata, that feels like a tailor-made Eddie match.
Yeah.
So I really hope it's good.
And our main event was Claudio Castagnoli taking on Orange Cassidy in the Blue League. And Orange Cassidy asked Tony Khan to have this match first within the C2 because he was looking to get revenge for... who was it? He said he wanted to get revenge on the Death Riders. I can't remember who for now. But either way...
Some conglomeration...
Either way, he did not get the win here. Claudio Castagnoli got a very big win over Orange Cassidy with the pop-up uppercuts.
Yeah, mostly dominated him. Cassidy had his comeback spots, but Claudio was just like swinging him into the barricade, ragdolling him around for a long sequence, picking him up by the belt and stuff. But yeah, pop-up uppercut.
And then, so that means that he and Moxley are now top of the Blue League. And I was like, that's going to be the last match of the Blue League. And it's happening next week, and I'm so excited to see what happens in that match.
Well, it could be both. They could have that match. Well, they will have that match next week, and then they could win it and be the semi-finals. Like if they're 1 and 2 at the top.
I don't think they will, because I think it'll be Okada and Takeshita at the top of.
Are they in the same?
No, they're not. But I think that's the finals. I think it's Okada versus Takeshita at World's End.
Yeah. This is another thing about the C2. There's so many good stories going on that you could make a real legit argument for everyone apart from Mascara Dorada and Kevin Knight.
And Roderick Strong. I would also make a big pitch to Tony, if you are watching, you probably are. We're the best podcast out there. Please give Carl Fletcher a unified championship match against Okada because you pinned him within the C2.
Yes, good point.
There needs to be some level of stakes within there. But yeah, I thought it was a really good... And then the show ended, I thought in a bit of a lame way, Because the thing I was into was the Death Riders and it being Claudio and Mox. And Mox comes out, and he's posing with the biceps and stuff. And I was like, I want to see the showdown, the tense stare down between Mox and Claudio. But then a bunch of people from both leagues just ran down and I had a brawl.
Yeah. And Okada watched it all from the ramp.
I thought that was a bit lame.
The only reason I can think of is if they're saving that Claudio Mox proper face-to-face for if they do meet in the semis.
Which, yeah, I agree with you. But this, for me, is not what the C2 is about. Just ending with a wild brawl between everyone.
It felt a bit weird.
Yeah, it's not... Like, I don't think it's in the spirit of the tournament. But yeah, overall, though, because it was so C2 focused, belt nonsense aside, awesome episode.
Yeah, it was a really good episode. We've got comments from last week where we spoke about is Vince McMahon going to come back to WWE and all that jazz. Donkey Sarasarex writes, I hope Vince buys a second or third row ticket like Enzo Amore did a few years ago.
Oh, man, that'd be so funny.
That was at Survivor Series, wasn't it? Didn't he walk into the hard cam shot?
Hard cam shot, yeah.
And he was in his like hoodie face mask thing. Daniel Clark writes, Vince McMahon will definitely announce, welcome to WrestleMania at Saudi Mania.
I mean, it makes sense, man.
I mean, he won't be booed as much over there, if at all.
And also, it's in like not next year; it's the year after. Plenty of time for him to be making his return to TV.
Well, we had one. Fantasy booking is the wrong name for it. Worst timeline booking, where Vince is tested on screen at Cena's retirement. He's maybe used more at the Royal Rumble because that's in Saudi in January.
It's true.
And then you could by 2027 he's having a match. And then there was another comment, top voted comment. Is this from Peter Zeke? Is this the most authentic friendship on YouTube?
I mean.
And then people speculated. So Multi-Class Geek writes, Ollie and Luke have been legit friends for decades, and it shows. Chris Thompson writes, friendships are always authentic when you're not motivated by money or control. Goddess of Crows, nah, it's just a podcast of convenience. Leo Cross.
Mate, if this is a podcast of convenience, we've been riding this for a while now. We are nearing, next year actually will be 10 years that you and I have been podding as a duo. But we're now...
Longer if you take all the movie ones before.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So when it's just been me and you as a pair, that's with... Next year's our 10-year anniversary of doing that. It might be 11 years, actually. But our first one together was in
16?
Well, no.
First ever one together.
Yeah, it was reviewing Seven Psychopaths, so whenever that film came out.
Do you want to have a look? And I'll keep reading. Leo Cross writes, I think they genuinely hate each other. You can tell Luke's love for Steiner maths has left a scar on their relationship.
2012. You and I have been podding together since 2012.
Too long. And Zergi writes, well, Nikki Bella and Stephanie Vaquer had a stronger and more meaningful friendship. But we know what happened there.
I know. I'm just waiting for you to eventually turn your back on me and reveal your heel boobs.
The boobs have turned heel. Recommendations. Tell me why it's Silly Goose.
I am wearing my Silly Goose t-shirt. You went to go see Radiohead at the O2 and you spent loads of money getting your seats right at the back, right up against the wall. I went to go see Silly Goose play at a pub in Shoreditch and it cost me 15 quid. And it was an awesome evening. Silly Goose, they're a band out of America. Who their central gimmick used to be, they're a bit of a guerrilla music style band. They're a new metal band. They're rap rock. They're bringing it back. Very much influenced by Limp Bizkit and that sort of ilk. They're awesome if you like that sort of thing, which I do. But their gimmick used to be that their tours would be following other bands doing tours around America, and they would just drive a flatbed truck to those locations and play a gig in the parking lots. And the lead singer's been like arrested, they're disturbing the peace and all that sort of stuff. It's awesome. They're a really fun band. It was a great night. And I would recommend, they've released a new album this year, Keys to the City, came out like a couple of months ago. If you're into that style of music, it's a superb record. If you get the chance to see them live, when they're doing another tour in the US next year, go and see them. You'll have a great time. But my other recommendation was the band that was on first on that night.
Okay. Because you didn't stay for the main event.
No, I did not. I was there to see Silly Goose and then I left. Let me tell you, bud, I bought a ticket and then it was at 7:00. And on my way there, found out, 7's actually just for sort of like, there's a bit of a meet and greet beforehand. The first band's not until 8. Mm-hmm. And I text my wife and I was like, the first band is on at 8:00. I'm worried because I'm not a spring chicken anymore. 8:00 is when the first band is on.
On a Tuesday.
On a Wednesday night. Oh, no, it was Tuesday night. I was a bit worried that it was going to be a late one. Because my worry was they were going to be the third band on. And I'm there doing the maths in my head being like, man, they might not be on until like 9:45. And that means that the show's going to finish at 10:30. And then I've got to try and get there to London Bridge and get home and stuff. In the end, the first band were on at 8. Silly Goose were on at 9:45. I was like, get in. This is great. They finished at like 20 to 10. I was like, I'm going home. Lovely stuff. And I got home at a lovely, reasonable hour. Because I'm cool like that. But the first band that was on was a band called Sweet Cheeks. Now, I feel like this is going to be a hard recommendation for me to do because I don't know where you find their music. Because I've looked, there are like 4 bands on Spotify called Sweet Cheeks. Oh, you are
so cool.
There are like 4 bands on there, and none of them are them. And I then went onto their Instagram, and there's no links to a Spotify or anything like that. I think, and this might make me sound a million years old, I think their music is on TikTok.
Wow.
But I don't know because I don't have that platform.
They didn't have a QR code.
Nope, they didn't have any of that.
Is this you asking the SWAF Nation to help you find Sweet Cheeks?
I mean, I was going to message them to be like, where do I find your music? Does it even exist in a recorded form? They are I suppose you couldn't say it's new metal. It's very new metal-y. They've got like a song that's very Limp Bizkit, then a song that was very System of a Down. They've got a very like new metal aura to them with kawaii, girl pop, J-pop, K-pop lyrics.
Nice.
And vocals. Complete with 2 dancers behind the lead singer doing like J-pop, K-pop choreographed routines while it was on. And you were the first person I thought of because I was like, Ollie will love this.
I love stupid performance aspects of live bands.
Yeah, I mean, I've just got a video I might be able to.
I tell you what, I tell you didn't have that. Radiohead. Radio did not have backing dancers.
Yeah. Okay, just give a head on this a little bit.
Luke is showing me a clip from his phone. So there's like 7 of them on stage. And yeah, they're doing like a K-pop Demon Hunters clapping intro with their backs to the audience. And yeah, they're doing a little dance routine. Sort of Sisters of Sin deadpan style. Yeah. Looks fun.
Honestly, I had a great time. I had no expectation and I had a really good time watching them. So if you're in London and you see Sweet Cheeks are on a bill somewhere, go and check them out.
Any 4 of them. Any of the 4 versions of Sweet Cheeks you can find.
Well, yeah, I mean, 2 of them I checked out I was not into. But them I thought were pretty good. Is your recommendation Radiohead?
I guess it's got to be, right? Radiohead. Yeah, they're pretty good. You can't go see them because all the tickets are sold out. I don't know. If no one's listened to Radiohead before, what are you doing?
Listen to the Bends.
OK Computer is probably the most complete album.
I think the Bends is. I was saying to Dan Fry.
They've got like 4 different complete albums.
Yeah. I was saying to Dan Fry in the office because I saw him listening to the Bends because he went with you to the gig and I saw him listening to the Bends and I said, that is a 10 out of 10 perfect no notes album.
You know what though? Listening to it back because they go down a very electronic route later on in their career. It was interesting because it felt like seeing 3 different bands because they've had so many different musical styles that they are the best at. The Bends is sort of it's the very embryonic.
It's weird.
We've got a guitar, sort of indie ballads.
Yeah, just doesn't sound like anything that's on Kid A.
Yeah,
Kid A is a different band.
They played Just. I was so happy.
Yeah.
Because
did they play Creep?
No, they never play Creep. I saw them play Creep at Glastonbury.
I saw them play Creep at Reading Festival when they headlined there in like 2009.
Yeah, they've stopped doing it now.
I think they'd stopped doing it prior to that as well because everyone there was like, well, they're not going to play Creep. And then they opened with Creep.
Wow.
And it was awesome because the crowd went absolutely apespit for it.
I feel like they do not care about Pablo Honey, which is their first album. because it's got Creep, it's got Anyone Can Play Guitar.
Yeah.
When we were walking out afterwards, we were just chatting. Oh yeah, no, nothing from Pablo Honey. No one cares. But people would like to hear Creep, of course. And this girl just started chatting to us, being like, "Oh my god, yeah, I love Pablo Honey." And she was like 12. There was this weird. You're either a 35-year-old plus man, or a girl between the ages of 15 and 22.
Is that TikTok?
I don't know. I thought there was a lot of people who have brought their kids.
I feel like that's a TikTok thing,
right?
Because like Deftones were a big band. Like they were a band in the 90s that had quite some big success in the 90s. They are now a band that can do arena tours because TikTok have discovered them, and teenagers are now finding them through TikTok.
Whatever it is, I am a gatekeeper, and. And if you start telling me, as like an early 20-year-old, why didn't they play Pablo Honey? Well, she literally said this. Why didn't they play Vegetables? I would have loved to have heard Vegetables. I said, I didn't say this to her. I was like, I've not thought about vegetables in 25 years.
I don't think they have.
No, not a song, not as a food substance. That is an insane take. When they didn't play the literal song The Bends or Street Spirit, and you're sitting there like, where's Vegetables? The album track from the album they kind of disown.
Yeah.
Anyway. If you like indie acoustic music, go listen to the Bends. If you like sort of darker indie piano sort of music, go listen to OK Computer. If you like electronic music, go listen to Kid A. If you like just a perfect fusion of dance electronica and sad pianos, go listen to In Rainbows.
Yeah.
They've made 4 of the best albums of all time.
Yeah.
In different styles. They're like the Stanley Kubrick of bands.
They are. If you want to feel 4 different variations of sad, then, man, you've got... there is a level of sad for you to find with a Radiohead album.
Yeah. But it's the sort of sad that if you're with the right people, it becomes happy. Because sadness shared does weirdly have a joyful aspect to it. But it was great. If you haven't listened to Radiohead, which, considering you're listening to us, is probably none of you. Yeah, so you know what? My recommendation is re-listen to Radiohead.
I'd say the Bends in particular.
Yeah. You would say you're a basic bitch. You're a basic bitch.
I think OK Computer has got a little bit more of that's a bigger ask. I think OK Computer is a better listen to if the Bends is your introduction.
Don't be a coward. Kid A.
No, don't
jump straight into Kid A.
Do not start with Kid A. Kid A is a bad recommendation for the first one.
One sitting, because it's meant to be enjoyed as one complete experience.
It's not one to put on a playlist. Like certain tracks on a playlist. Like
National Anthem, Idiotech.
It's like Lily Allen's new album. That is not designed for tracks to be listened to on a playlist. That is an album.
It's a story.
It's a story. You need to listen to that from start to finish.
Dojo. Is there a way that we can link the Lily Allen? Do the Ops have a dojo?
Or is it
a pussy palace? Maybe it's just a dojo. Dojo.
The Ops Dojo or the Pussy Palace.
The Ops have a Pussy Palace, and that's where all their men come from. No, it's a dojo. It's a dojo, Hangman Page.
It's cool, all right. It's fine.
I hope next week when Hangman Page or Swerve cut a promo. I don't feel like it's Swerve's thing, but I think Hangman could say, Dojo looks more like a pussy palace to me. That is a killer, relevant line you can deliver.
That is a millennial line right there.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We will be back on Sunday, so make sure you're subscribed for that. And, of course, go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk, where you can watch Tables, This and Chairs, the worst John Cena matches with Luke and I and Santi Zap, and our continuing series on TNA's Aces and Eights storyline. And of course, you can also get your chats in for the podcast review of Whore Games. But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen, DAD. Jam that jam.
Jam that jam.